Okay, great. And just another big, warm welcome to everyone who's joining us online and on YouTube. We have the first hour of this course is open to anyone who's on our YouTube channel. So we're really glad you're with us, and especially for any of you brand new online, we really hope you enjoy this morning instruction. And if you do have questions, you can pop them into the chat. We will say that the most important and beneficial thing for you is to just pay close attention to the instruction and just absorb what you can. And if you have any burning question, we will do our best to pass that along. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Master Bruce Frantzis.
Now, the swings, most of you are familiar with it from opening the energy gates of your body. And there are many types of swings, but the three ones that I teach of what from energy gates in the body are, as you all know, it's the regular standing up, it's the turning from side to side, it's having your hands go up. Now, the ones with the hands going up, I'm not going to go into today, because if it is, my experience of watching people trying to learn this and do this is that would take a week by itself. I mean, I don't know how many times I've taught it and how many times I've correcting it, but it's a coordination that seems to just really throw people for a loop. Now, let's look at the swings, not from a partial but a fully perspective. And I don't know how much of it we'll get through, but I'm going to try and do as much of it as I can. It's very commonly done just as a way to get people who have terribly poor circulation and medical needs to just improve their circulation. All these movements and moving your hands this way and that way is very complicated. But if the swings are done correctly, it does that. The second thing it's done for is simply to loosen up everything in the body that can move. This is where it starts becoming why it's always favored by people in martial arts, because they just have to be able to move, and it gets all your joints. The third thing is that how the swings are done. Well, the first stage of doing the swings is just essentially a matter of relaxing and letting your body go, and having the swings stretch that which is inside you that will not let your body go. But then it goes further. Then it's about how, when you do the swings, how you use that to move chi throughout your body internally. Now, if you reach a high enough stage of that, the hope is that it can eventually then transfer into you being able to do it purely by thought, purely by putting your intention inside your body. The swings are used to open the main channels of the body, okay? And that's a little bit tricky, because that's when you're going internal. Everything I've described up to now has been the external part of the swings, okay? Your shoulder can't move. Well, if you practice the swings, they'll loosen up. You can't really turn your waist in coordination with your whole body, then that'll do it. But the main point is that the swings, when it's done purely physically, it's really about integrating all the parts of your body into one seamless thing. One part move, all parts move. One part stops, all parts stop. But now we start going into a whole nother thing. How do you actually get the body to truly relax? Now, relax is a funny word in Tai Chi, or in many things, because there are two terms that go with it in Tai Chi, not as much in Xingyi and Bagua, because they have other things they do as well as this. And that is the term in Chinese to just relax your body, to let your nerves go, to let your muscles go. What I would just call ordinary relaxation. You work at a computer screen, and after X number of hours, your whole body starts to go like this. That's what it does. And so ordinary relaxation is that. There are other methods that I won't be showing right now about, well, in the West, when we say relaxation, We are primarily talking about emotional relaxation. When someone says relax, 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 they're not talking about your body, they're talking about your mental state. So there are things to do that, but the larger issue is that how do you get your body to physically relax? Now, the next thing is that the swings are very integral for you learning how to move blood in your body. Okay? Now, that is a hard thing for a lot of people to get. They can't feel their blood. You know, if I say right now, okay, look, just put your hand on your liver, and now great, now start moving blood into it and out of it, and stronger and weaker and whatnot. And most of you are going to stand there looking at me like I'm crazy. I sure know that when I first heard that, I thought my teacher was crazy, but he wasn't kidding. He was being dead serious. So then all the aspects of the swings are about how, when they happen, you can target any place inside your body. And through these motions, make blood go into it, make your chi go into it, and make your chi release from it. Now understand, inside your body, everything, whether it's glands or the inside of your brain or it's your internal organs, the energy of your body is always only doing two big things. Energy's going into it, energy's going out of it. Just like, you know, blood is going into it, and then your body's getting rid of the stale blood and sending it back to eventually gets reoxygenated in your heart. So that's a big part of it. In the martial arts game, this ability to do the swings is very connected to pushing hands, or for example, most of it's not your particular interest, but it would be a martial artist. How can you just go like this and shatter a person's jaw? How can you go like this and hit them in the side, the neck, and they're dead? Okay, because you rupture everything that's inside the spinal cord and the blood going to the brain. Now, the swings will eventually, when you get really good at it, they will enable you to move blood inside your brain, to move chi inside your brain. And this is one that's, you know, usually not mentioned. And so that things like that have great relevance for people who are, let's say, body workers or people who do medicine. You want to make your chi go to your finger, or you want to make it go to a part of your body so you can transfer it to someone else. Well, the swings takes you on that way. Now, the next thing is that if we discuss the subject of meditation, obviously that when you are sitting and meditating, you're not doing swings, but you're doing that before you sit. And that's so that you can target eventually. It takes you where not only can you bring your mind and bring your energy into your tissues, your physical tissues, you can bring it into the depths of your mind. Now, many people have blockages that are very problematic for them. What's the phrase? A really deep trauma, it's hard to get rid of. You know, a lot of people keep it for years. People who've been jobs. You know, very often they cannot get rid of that thing that's inside them. Well, leaving outside how that stuff is stored in the amygdala, how do you actually get your energy to go into the amygdala or go into where in your brain or in your consciousness, all right, which is not your brain, and to where you can just have that and keep on working that, so that which is stiff and won't change, you can change it. All right, so these are, it has a lot of aspects of it go into meditation, but I'm only in the second phase of the work that I'm teaching. What I did the first 30 years was just teaching the grossest stuff about Qigong. Okay, the externals, the gross stuff. Well, now I'm moving much more into the second phase, which is way more about the internals of Qigong and what happens with it. So now here, let's start with something. Can you relax your arm? Now, normally the only way, if you pick up someone's arm and you just let go of it and it drops smooth, is if they're dead. But they haven't been dead that long, okay? Because otherwise rigor mortis is going to set in and that's going to stiffen the body. But how do you do it? How do you just let your arm go? Now, come here for a second, Craig. And this is what you're going to do with the person next to you. Listen, once we start standing up and doing things, you got to move your chairs to the side because there won't be enough room otherwise. Pick my arm up. and let it move, but then just let it go. Do it again. Now that's letting your arm go. A lot of people can't do that. Don't kid yourself. Talk to any hypnotist who they take your arm up, but when your arm, people can't drop their arm. They can't do it. That's residual tension. And that tension is stored in your body in two ways. And these are the two things you're always playing around with in the swings. You're playing around with the blood flow inside your body, because if blood doesn't go to a place, you're playing around with your breathing, and you're playing around with your nerves. So here, I want everyone now just to pick your arm up. When I say drop it, just drop it. Pick it up. When I say drop it, just drop it. Pick your head up. When I say drop it, just let your head drop. Now, no, just your neck and your head. Your back doesn't have to get involved. Just let it go. Just let it go. Let it go. Now, the first step is that understand that one of the things the swing does is that it coordinates all the parts of your body together. Now we start with something. Before you actually get into swinging, well, one thing that's actually still in China part of the swings is this. Now, this is tricky because anybody can pick their arm up and drop it, but you're not going to use your arms. Your arm's going to be dead like it was before, or actually just relaxed. But now, here, see my pelvis? What is my pelvis doing? It's going up, isn't it? It's rolling upwards. Eventually, you're going to get where you're going to use your pelvic diaphragm to do this, but in the beginning, at least your hips. So you have your hips go up. And now I want you just to, when your hips go up, let it just move, let it just move your arms. But you're not going to use your arms. That's very, very important in this. Your arms are going to get moved just by what's happening inside your body. So let's stand up and try it. Now I want you to focus that when you tilt your hips up, your hands are going away from your body, but yet when you have them go the other way, they're coming into your body. You want to have the feeling that what's happening in your arm is somehow getting through your whole arm and somehow going inside your body. Because you're going to relax every part of you, not just one or two parts. Now I want you to notice something very, very clearly, because I can see a lot of you doing it, but even if I didn't, I knew you were going to do it anyway. You're going to only come up from that centrifugal force to a certain height. And then at that point, you guys are kicking in your muscles to raise your arm. I want you now just to become aware of that point to where you're going to start trying to use your arms. Remember, this is all coming your body. Now, let your weight of your body and your hips go onto your feet. Okay? And I do not want your feet to leave the floor. I simply want you to have your weight go onto the ball of your foot. See this? Or onto the back of your heel. Now your hips, as your hands go up, your legs slightly straighten. As your hands go down, it's the slight bending of your leg that's going to bring your hand down. Now, between the going up and the going down, there's a short period of time where you're effectively going to float. It's going to feel like you're just kind of in suspension. So if we just talk about gravity, if your hands go up, at a certain point when you're getting near hitting the top of the motion, gravity is going to start pulling on you, and your body is going to go into kind of a funny feeling. And it's that last bit that you really have to focus on relaxing, because otherwise you're just going to be using your arms. You know, it's your legs and your hips that are moving your arms. Your arms are not doing anything. All right, now sit down. Now we're slowly and systematically going to recognize and begin to release the parts in your body which were causing you to become stiff and which were not enabling what was coming from your feet to go up to your hands, but was stopping somewhere, so all you're doing is using your arms. Okay? And we're going to play around with that. But before we do that, I want you to try something. Is there any part of your body right now that hurts? Okay, has everybody at least got something? I don't care how little or how much. I want, when you do this, that when your arms go up first, just standing here, I want you to get a sense of having your hand connect to the place that hurts. Okay? It's not that hard to do. I mean, if you kind of, even if you had a broken elbow, if you were to move your fingers this much, you'd get distinct sensations in your elbow from where the pain is. And now what I want you to do is I want you just to see if you can go up and down and have your attention stay on whatever is inside your body that is particularly tense or particularly hurt. You work on a computer, you work on a screen all day long. Well, you'd be surprised if you really observe the inside of your body, how many places inside you hurt. Because there's no two ways about the fact that keyboards diminish the flow of blood and nerve flow in the body. They push it until it weakens. And after so many years, you get problems. So now watch. So now you're just standing here, and I don't care. Your hands don't have to go up more than this. See, because there's a certain thing where you just have to get, if you're just doing this, how high will your hands go? And you'll find out if you try and go just that little bit more, you're going to get tense because you're going to try and use your muscles. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. This is how you've been conditioned your whole life. This is what people have done their whole lives. And they've done it in every culture in the world. But you only want to take it as far as you can go like this, and the inside of your elbows and your shoulders and your hands are staying relaxed. Does everyone understand what we're trying to do? Stand up. Go for it. Now, as your hands get higher than your hips, every couple of inches you go up, it's going to be harder to relax your body. Right now, your hands are right down around your hip. Now, just do the instructions. Don't go beyond them. So now you stand up slightly when you want your hands to go up, and you squat slightly when you want your hands to go down. Now, you don't have to stick your ass backwards to do this. There's no need. So your legs are standing up slightly and your hips. Now, about the hips. Sit down for a second, watch this. Come here, Craig. Now, this motion should not be mysterious. If you're a total virgin, it might be serious. But if you've ever passed the virgin part, you are familiar with having your hips do this. It's not like it's a strange thing. It's not coming from Mars. So put your hands on my hips. In, go back to where you started. And now what you want to do is use that motion of your hips to move your hands. And as you go up, your legs are going to straighten. And as you go back, your legs are going to drop slightly. Okay? But what you're not going to do is try and lift your arms. Until you can just kind of just have your body just be relaxed, and it's going to go here, and it's going to go there. Okay? In martial art things, I just have people practicing. Stand where you are. Watch something. See my hand? Boom. They go to sleep. But I'm not using my arm. I'm having the hip going up, get the speed, and when I get to something, that extra little bit is what's going to drive it through. But the point here is that you're not using your arms. So we got this. Try. Now, it's okay if your hands don't even get as high as your hips when you do this. Don't worry, by the end of the week, they should hopefully be getting at least up to your chest or your shoulders. But your body has to loosen, because your body has to learn to recognize how to both let your nerves and your blood go through that part of your body. Now, the only thing I'm going to say is that you don't go backwards when you do this. You don't go backwards. Now, I'll grant you do that in sex at times, when you go all the way, but not here. Here you're doing something to where your body wants to remain still. So again, Craig, just hold my hips so they can see this. No. Now, I grant you that's it, but it's also that you have sex just by doing this, right? And then dropping it. You do, and you don't jump all over the place. That's the way I want you to do it. Now try not to have your shoulders go backwards. Just your hip. Now, as you bend your arms, let your mind travel from the top of your head through your body, feeling as much of it as you can or you can't, and go all the way down to your feet. And then when you make your hands come up, go from your feet through your body all the way to the top of your head. Okay, now the next exercise, come here, Craig. Just sit so you can see. You put your hands underneath their elbow just to hold it, like, you know, like a dowsing rod or something. And now watch what you're going to do. And this means you're releasing your elbow, because what's happening to a lot of you, if you do that to me, is you're not releasing your elbow. Go ahead. You're going to like freeze for a second. And that's because your elbow is trying to control it. All right, so we're doing that. Just do this here. Go ahead, take the person next to you and do it with them. Okay, let's come on back. Sit down. Have you done it with both of you? Now, for those of you who do Tai Chi, I hope at some point near the end of this, I'm going to distinguish between these two Chinese words. But we're going to start off with the first one. The ordinary Chinese term for relax is Fang Song. But in the Tai Chi classics, for example, nowhere does that appear. The only word that appears is Song. And Fang Song is assumed as being the earlier part of Song. It's just an assumption. It's a lot of old Chinese was very terse. It didn't, or it's a bit like scientific language. You don't always spell out every little thing if one particular term encompasses a whole range of things. The idea being all of them are what it's about. Now, in order for you to mentally release the tension in your body, something that has to be involved is your brain. If we talk about your overall health your brain's very important. And if you don't think it is, I mean, go hang around someone who's got Alzheimer's for a while. But this making, one of the problems with the brain, we'll put it this way, one of its operational principles, which if it's not there causes problems, is that the blood and the other fluids inside the brain have to completely circulate. Right? They got to move from the front to the back to the up and the down to the left and the right of your brain. So in the swings, if your brain freezes up, your body will freeze up. If your brain relaxes, the flows inside of you will go much, much easier. Now, a big thing that's in martial arts and a big problem that you can see with people who work in computers is that the way they get the neurological signals going inside their brain to be able to do whatever they got to do in the keyboards. But you can actually, if you would take a film and watch them over 10 or 12 hours, you can watch them, you can watch their head leaving their shoulders. You can watch the way they'll bend in all sorts of weird positions. And all those positions mess with the blood flow and the flow of signals through the neurons. So this has to be cleared out. Now, in old China, they didn't have computers, but they had something that at least the elites had. They had to master 10,000 Chinese characters just to fill out reports. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever actually tried to write some Chinese characters. It takes a hell of a lot of coordination and a hell of a lot of concentration. And that is putting, I would say, at least as much strain on your brain as working a computer does. Now, what was the solution to this? Go through different things. One way is that here's the first thing that happens. You can just see this watching people sitting down. You know the old thing in Zen when they had people sitting, they had a guy walking around with a bamboo stick. And as soon as they started watching someone collapsing, whack on the shoulders. Didn't hurt you, but it sure made you wake up. And just to say, well, come back. Because when your head starts falling, the brain activity slows down, and then slowly your brain works like it's moving through sludge. Or you just start falling asleep. So here, the different ways that you get your spinal cord is like the tail of an animal. It's completely connected to your brain. Okay? They've done all sorts of new research that's come out now, and they've shown how the spinal cord is directly connected to the brain. You know, if you believe in the scientific method, you got all the machines to quantify the data. But the fact of the matter is that what you do have, everybody here, I want you to try a little experiment. Let your head kind of go slack. Look at the end of the room and focus on something. I don't care what it is. You want to see it. That's all you're trying to do. And how clear is that? How smooth is that? Now I want you to do something else. I want you to lift your head up and see if you start seeing more clearly. Now I want you to do a third thing. Take your eyes. Okay, this is just simple anatomy, but energetically it works this way. Your eyes, what is directly behind your eyes? It's the optic nerve. And what is the optic nerve directly connected to? In effect, the whole of your brain. Can you follow me? So if you compress or you screw up the way the optic nerve is, it affects your brain. Likewise, if your optic nerve relaxes, even if you were blind, you couldn't see anything externally, but you could get your mind to go behind your eyes to your optic nerve, and then you just could let it relax. Just see how you get a slightly different experience of your head, because it's going to change the way that everything is moving inside your brain. Now, these old Chinese scholars who had to know the 10,000 characters to pass an imperial exam, they were the intellectual elite in China for thousands of years. And given the fact that essentially they ruled the empire, everybody was very concerned that they did it well. And it was very obvious if their brains didn't work, they weren't going to do it very well. And so some of these things about the head flowed through that avenue as well as other avenues. Now I want you to do something else. Try and focus behind your eyes and see if you can feel your optic nerve. Now you have to have your eyes open. You can't do this with your eyes closed. Not in the beginning anyway. If you want to focus on something, you have to put some intent to see. Yes? And mostly that intent tends to be focused on a point. That also means that the information coming into the optic nerve is also very one-pointed. And I may get this point. What about all this stuff out here? What about the rest of it? Now what I want you to do is with your eyes, relax your optic nerve. I don't know if you can see my eyes opening or not. Can you see my eyes opening up? It's a question. Answer it, because if you can, I got to have you come closer to me so you can. You don't have to stay in your chairs. I mean, really, and there's no glue on them.
There's also the screen.
Well, it all depends upon how good your eyes are, to tell you the truth. Now, as you do this, I want you to do one other thing. I want you to see that what you're doing with your brain, I want you to feel your hand. And I think the hand's relatively easy to feel, yes? Now, can you just feel if your hand is relaxed or it's tense? If you can't feel whether it's relaxed or it's tense, just squeeze your hand as hard as you can and let it go. And you'll get the difference between the two. Okay? So now watch something. And you see how I'm opening my eyes? Now the trick here is that screw your eyes. Okay? Because just whether you could read a newspaper or not is not going to so radically affect the state of your brain. What will do it is if you just can kind of feel around your head and notice that when you do this, your head starts feeling lighter, because just this action alone will increase blood flow inside the brain. But more than that, it will also make it easier for you to feel other parts of your body. Okay? But before you do the other parts of your body, just do it to it. Wait a minute. Can you, by doing this, can you relax your hand? Can that make it much easier for you to relax your hand? It's a simple thing. Okay? Now, I had a class last week, and I don't want you to be offended, but most people can do this. Few people have real trouble because their neurological system's been cut off their whole life. And we had a guy, and I said, "Oh, feel your hand." He said, "I can't feel my hand." So I even went the next day. Said, "Okay, can you feel your dick?" Come on. You know, men think from their dicks. That's the common female complaint. Okay. They couldn't do that either. Well, then I just had to get that this guy's neurological system is extremely deficient. Okay, so he got what he got, and he did a little bit better. But I think you can if you just open up your eyes. You see this? Now try and get this. You're not opening your eyeballs. You're opening right behind your eye, because that's where the optic nerve is. Do you understand? It's because it's the optic nerve that is responsible for how any visual information that comes into you is going to get distributed to the rest of your brain, and it's going to cause the processing of your brain. It's not your eyeballs per se. A camera lens is not what makes the picture. It's the stuff behind it and all the, where the paper used to be once upon a time. Okay? That's how you actually get the picture. But you don't get it from the lens per se. So now, do this with your eyes and see if you can just consciously get your hand to relax. It's like, could you consciously just get your elbow to relax? And there's a difference when your elbow feels tight or feels fluid. Okay, I mean, they're just two entirely different sensations. Now, feel your foot, if you can. I'm not trying to say you can or cannot do anything. People have different talents. You have some people, like, you take dear old Mozart. Man, by the time the guy is 5 years old, he's playing full bore concertos. Gotta admit, the average person, if 20 years playing a piano, they can do that, they're doing well. But there's a range. Everything in life has a range. You have a range. Some things you do well, some things you do poorly, and some things you do well without effort, and some things you only can do them half-assed with a lot of effort. And this is human variation. It's part of the human condition. So now I want you just to do this with your eyes and see if your attention will go somewhere to where do you have tension. And then keep it on there and keep it on the place where you have tension and just let go of the tension wherever your mind landed. Now, very deliberately, do it to the inside of your elbow. See, if you're going to swing your hands, what's the pivot point? What's the hinge? It's your elbow, any way you look at it. So now do that and see if you can release the inside of your elbow. And all we're talking about is you're going from tension to relaxation. Chinese, that's called feng shui, what we call relaxation. But one thing I want to start when we're doing this, because it may come up later, or it's going to come up sooner or later, try and understand something that in the West, when people usually say relaxation, they tell someone relax. What are they talking about? Are they saying relax their body? They're saying relax their emotions, relax their thinking. Well, you want to have it to where you can take it to everything inside your body, not just your mood swings. So that's starting first. That's your eyes. Craig, come back here. And here's what you're going to do with your partner. So you're going to pick up my elbow. You're going to put one hand underneath my elbow. So I don't have to use any strength or tension to hold it. Pick my hand up and let it drop. Do it again. Now, open up your eyes and let it drop. And see if it goes a lot easier. Because that's what you're after. And it's no different. Do it again, Greg. Pick my elbow up to the top of my head. Now, can you see how there's nothing holding it? I mean, normally the only way you can do is to say someone's dead before rigor sets in. Now notice, can you see, am I using my muscles in any way to move my arm? Okay, if we got this with the eyes, we're not done yet. Now the next thing, which is going to be more difficult than the eyes, at least for most, whenever I make a statement, I'm saying, as the old Greeks used to say, in the general case, in the great preponderance of, it doesn't say whether it's you personally, because the great preponderance does not say anything about specific instances within it. But generally, more or less. That's the way the Chinese always do. They don't use the Greek thing. They just always say more or less. Because almost everything in life is more or less, if you want to get right down to it. Okay? So you should pick your hands up. Pick your arm up right now. Release your eyes. And when you feel your eyes have released, let your hand go. Okay, now stand up and do the same thing. For those of you who work with computers, just this thing we did with the eye is going to be terribly helpful. Now, I'm not a coder, so I don't know exactly what that does to a brain. I used to work with people in Silicon Valley who used to, do some of the most sophisticated coding on the planet. And I'm telling you something, their bodies got wrecked from it. And their heads got wrecked from it. And they had incredible emotional difficulties because of it. As well as that, if you'd watch them when they were at the end of a really heavy run, a lot of them could barely walk because the nerves of their bodies were being shattered. They weren't being shattered, they were being overloaded. If you can't let your nerve signals go through and process, the only thing they can do is remain causing a pressure within the neurological system. That's all they can do. I mean, it's not a choice. So just do it to your arm. Your elbow starts loosening. Now, again, go back and start doing this. But we're not done. You got the rest of your head left. Now, many of you, when you do Tai Chi or you do Xingyi Bagua or you do some sort of Qigong, this is how your arm should be the whole time. And this is what your eyes are doing the whole time. In martial arts, they also play other games that are important for martial arts, but for regular life, what I'm showing you now is more important. It's real simple. Can you get your vision to go full bore 90 degrees? Can you get your vision to go completely up and down? And if you can do that, you only can do that by relaxing the optic nerve. It's not your eyeballs. You go forward, go back. Go forward, go back. Now, everybody's got different senses, right? You can see, you can feel, you can hear. And for people here who happen to be involved in medical games or bodywork games, you're going to find that this thing with the eyes and whatnot is going to enable you over time to have the experience of not only feeling the inside of a person's body, but effectively seeing it. Because the sense of sensations and visual images are actually interchangeable. The only question is whether you've crossed the barrier enough to make them easily flip from one to the other. Okay, so. Okay, take 5 minutes off now. Just listen to me, just 1 second, because this is important. When you eat a big meal, the ever famous 4-pound steak thing, do you, as soon as you finish, start eating something else? Why not?
You're full.
Well, you're full, but more than that, it'll hurt as your stomach is being stretched to a ridiculous degree, unless you've got really super good digestive capacities. Okay? I was able to do that when I was a kid. I could eat a 4-pound steak and then, God damn it, bring on all the desserts you want. I was fine. But I had a reasonably strong digestive system, and I did all this karate and martial arts, which was increasing the strength of my digestive system. But most people don't have that. When you take something in, try and understand that your nerves handle input more or less in the same way that you digest food. You only can eat a certain amount before it has to go through your system and clear its stuff, and then you'll go to the toilet. You'll get rid of what you can't use. But it's got to clear your system. So when we have these breaks, don't keep practicing. You're actually going to slow down your learning curve. And if you're going to talk to someone, the big thing is don't get excited. Talk as calmly as you want, and better that you don't talk about it right after you've learned something. You don't talk about what that is. You talk about it in the afternoon. You give your body and your nerves a while to absorb it, so that when you start talking to each other about it, that you actually have a much clearer perception of what it is. Because you just can't, the other great example for this is, do you know how pate is made? Well, you take your friendly goose and you just keep on shoving food down its throat till it gets to the verge of dying. And then you stop, and that is what's going to create pate. No, it's not good for the goose. It's not good for the duck. It's not good for the chicken, whatever bird is doing it. But you have to digest and get a certain amount of those nutrients coursing through your system, where the next thing you do is simply going to shut your digestion down. So you want to digest, rest, absorb, and then do the next thing. And this is also when you're practicing at home. When you feel you're making a really big breakthrough, you don't immediately then try and do everything else you know. You got to chill, let it happen. In weightlifting, this is the equivalent of, it's not the same process, but it's general principle that you first lift these weights to tear your muscles, but then you got to wait a day for those muscles to heal. And then you got a stronger muscle or a bigger muscle or whatever it happens to be. But this also happens to work at the level of chi and neurology. Okay, so take 5 minutes off, and then we're going to start again.